The alveolus is really good at gas exchange, and gas exchange does not only occur in the lungs, where oxygen enters the blood and CO2 leaves the blood, but gas exchange also occurs in the capillaries in the remaining body, especially in the muscles, where in this case oxygen leaves the blood and goes into the muscles, and CO2 goes from the muscles into the blood. But here we're only going to look at the gas exchange as it occurs in the lungs. And there are 5 characteristics of the alveoli that make it really good for gas exchange. And over here I have a drawing, and this is supposed to be this pink structure, is supposed to be a highly schematic drawing of an alveolus. And this structure flowing around the alveolus is a schematic drawing of a capillary. And I'm now going to explain gas exchange as it occurs over here. First of all, blood flows over here, in this case from the left side. So this blood vessel over here is the pulmonary artery, which is coming from the heart. Over here it's going back to the heart. The blood is oxygenated, it's the pulmonary vein. But we're going to have a look now at what happens between the alveolus, that's the air space in here, and the blood flowing in the capillary. So because of ventilation, because of inhaling and exhaling, we have in the air space of the alveolus, we have a high oxygen concentration, high O2 concentration, and we have a low CO2 concentration. And in the blood we have exactly the opposite. Over here we have a low, we have a low oxygen and a high CO2 concentration. And what happens now is that because we have now here concentration gradient between CO2 and inside and outside the alveolus, so CO2 moves by diffusion from an area of a higher concentration to an area of lower concentration. So CO2 moves into the airspace, and oxygen, now I have drawn this a little bit bad because I'm gonna go across here, and oxygen moves also from a high concentration inside the airspace into the blood. And this happens until you have equal concentrations on both sides, and then a diffusion stops. So this is the actual gas exchange, which does not require energy. Now, in order to make sure that this is able to continue, we have to make sure that we supply always new blood with a high CO2 concentration and low oxygen concentration. And we have to make sure that we always supply fresh air with a high oxygen concentration and a low CO2 concentration. And this is done by ventilation. The movement of air in and out of the alveoli, that is done by ventilation. Okay, so that is basically pretty much everything I want to say here. Now, let's have a more detailed look at the characteristics that make alveoli good for gas exchange. First of all, there is a large surface area, and the reason is there are many of them. Many small alveoli results in a large surface area. Large SA stands for surface area in this case. Then over here, the alveoli, I'm going to draw this in right now, they have cells which on here, and these cells are only one cell layer. Of course, the alveolus is only one cell layer thick. The blood capillary is also only one cell layer thick. So the distances here are quite short. Because both the alveolus and the blood capillaries, they have a thin wall, and therefore we have short diffusion distances. Okay, that's my spelling, okay? So you have short diffusion distances, which allows diffusion to occur relatively quickly. The inside of the alveolus, of course, is filled with air, but the walls of the alveolus are moist. And this moisture is important because it allows oxygen and CO2 to be dissolved. And if it were dry, then diffusion would not take place. So moisture of the alveolus is necessary for, just gonna cross it off like this, for O2 and CO2 diffusion. That is another thing. Then another one is the walls of the alveoli are permeable to oxygen and CO2. I think it goes together a little bit with the moisture over here. It's got to be clear. The membranes of these cells must allow oxygen and CO2 to go through. And it is surrounded by capillaries, and these capillaries also contribute to maintain a concentration difference. So help maintain concentration difference. Between oxygen and CO2. It helps maintain a concentration difference together with ventilation. I might add this because it's ventilation is really important here. Together with ventilation. And that's pretty much it. So this was now a short explanation on how the alveolus is adapted for allowing easy and efficient exchange of oxygen and CO2.